Hi, I'm Kanika, and you're listening to That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast, where I interview public figures on their life lessons in parenting, legacy, and built-in sixth sense.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland, and you're checking out That's Total Mom Sense.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton, and my experience on That's Total Mom Sense was fantastic.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
Thank you to my guests, brand partners, community, and you for making this show possible. Episodes release every Thursday wherever you listen to podcasts. You can join my tribe by logging on to thatstotalmomsense.com and by following me on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive in to today's episode. Very special. She's an artist, Reiki healer, designer, musician, and mother, Chloe Trujillo. A native Parisian, Chloe has a penchant for the fine arts and grew up surrounded by creatives. Through her paintings, one can notice Chloe's infusion of spirit and intention, allowing text, symbols, colors, and composition to flow through her and onto the canvas. While her pieces have been exhibited in Paris, Los Angeles, London, and San Francisco, her artwork is currently represented by the Tracy Park Gallery in Malibu, California. In 2012, Chloe launched her first line of silk scarves, her favorite accessory. Made in Italy with silk from Lake Como and fine voile de cotton, each scarf featured motifs from her artwork. A musician at heart, she developed her own style of gypsy blues rock. Last year, she released an album called Mothers of a New Nation, an EP, What Are We?, a vinyl record called Claria with her old band 66 Steps, and an EP, Heavy Piece with Rad Medic. Chloe was a recipient of the 2022 Juice Merit Award for Exceptional Creativity and was also recently nominated for Best Female Vocal Performance at the Josie Music Awards. She's now the designer for the U.S. synchronized swim team swimwear at the Olympics. You're going to love the backstory here. Chloe is married to Robert Trujillo, who is the bass guitarist for the legendary heavy metal band Metallica. They're settled in LA with their 2 children. Chloe, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here. And I love what you're doing. So really, truly honored.
I appreciate it. And my audience is going to love hearing your story. I want to start with your childhood in Paris, and I'm going to practice a little French here. My aunt lives in Le Troisième Arrondissement.
Yeah.
Parle français couramment et j'aime beaucoup le vin. Et je suis si heureuse de te rencontrer aujourd'hui.
Merci beaucoup.
Oh my God, I have to practice more.
No, c'est bien.
Yeah, but it's so lovely to see that you're from Paris, and I'm sure that really influenced your love for the fine arts and culture.
Definitely. You know, when I was born, my parents lived in the 6e arrondissement, so around Saint-Germain-des-Prés, which is kind of also very cultural. Lots of writers, poets, and of all sorts were living there. But my parents were fashion designers, and they were also lovers of art. And also, like, growing up in Paris was great. Until I moved out of Paris, I didn't realize how you take for granted, like, going around monuments all over. I'm just even talking about the building, the history. You know, as a kid, I remember being bored at museum because you want to play, go out and play. And I have 2 other sisters, so they would take us to see art all over. We would go to flea markets and look at some more art or ancient furniture or things like that, and kind of hated it as kids, but I took it in actually, or starting in high school, you have free access to museums all over Paris. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah. So that's one of the benefits of growing up there. And my parents loved to travel. They worked very, very long hours, but when they took time off, they would travel to places all over the world and took us kids with them. I mean, I went to Iran, I went to Egypt, I went to of course, the US, even in high school, like I learned how to speak Japanese because I was so curious about learning a language that had a different writing. I started learning Farsi.
Wow.
Whatever I gained from growing up with my parents and their way of parenting, I try to give to my children, my kids when they were babies. As hard as it was for me to kind of give up my career, because I thought I had given up on life. I was like,
Yeah.
my husband was still touring. So I took them everywhere in the world on tour with us, and they get exposed to so many different cultures. It just keeps your mind open, and it enriches you so much. You don't even maybe realize it at the moment, but even in my artwork, in my writing, in my music making, it's so much richer thanks to this exposure to all these different cultures. And that was one of my hardest things when I became a mother, and to kind of give up. I didn't completely give up all my creativity. Of course, I was still kind of sketching, and they were taking naps. I was painting, I was singing to them and all that. But to kind of stop being productive as much, or slow down, I shouldn't say stop completely, to take care of the children was like an inner battle that I had to conquer.
Yes, it's true. It's true. I feel like, motherhood reframes us in a way. And as much as, there's a birthing process for the child, it's a rebirth for us too. We have to find a new way of life and kind of reshape our identity to include these new human beings, all the while not lose sight of who we are at our core, what matters to us, and the really like the mark that we want to leave in the world. There's no balance, but yeah.
You're trying to find balance. There's not really a balance, but it's really something that I think every mother has to find in herself. Like there's no manual about what to do. And they couldn't be, because every individual is different. Even when I got pregnant with my first, with Ty, it was unexpected. I wanted children. I know eventually I wanted children, but this was unexpected. I didn't even know I was pregnant, but I was really tired. And I had just done an audition, and I was actually about to go on tour. And so I had to call the manager and tell him I'm pregnant. And all he had to say is welcome to your new life. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to find somebody else. And he hung up the phone. Oh. And that was so devastating, because then it triggered in me. I was like, okay, I'm not going to go on tour. I'm not going to sing with this band. And that was fine. But the way he said, welcome to your new life, it gave me a sense like, what does that mean? Does that mean my life is over as an artist? And now I'm becoming a mother and I cannot do anything else? And I didn't want to accept this. So I'm looking around me, and my mother included, there's plenty of mothers that have careers and are able to kind of balance as much as they can, and nobody really prepares you for the amount of work it is to take care of a newborn. So then when he was born, I was like, that he was right. My life is that's a new life. And then they give you so much. Kids give you so much.
They're a whole inspiration in themselves.
I know.
Yeah,
absolutely. And both my kids are artists and musicians, and they inspire me every day. Because since they were born, I've been creating times 20 or times 100. I'm on this role because they inspire me so much.
That's really remarkable. I want to get to know how you got into painting and music early on, because yes, there's a shift when you have kids, but just that young Chloe. Yeah. What was it like? How did you kind of immerse yourself in the arts and make that your career?
Yeah, I shared that my parents loved the arts. Actually, my mom, when she had time off and she was at home, she often would paint. She loved to paint angels. So she painted angels. Oh, that was her thing. But I just remember the smell, because she did oil painting, the smell of turpentine, like all these linseed oil and all that stuff. It just like has that comforting feeling. That was my first exposure to art, and I just loved it. I think I was doodling ever since I could hold a pen. And I love music and I love singing. And my mom had her parents move across the street from us in Paris to take care of us when they had long hours during like fashion weeks and all that stuff. And my grandfather was a professional opera singer. So he was singing all the time.
Wow. Okay.
And he was my first official vocal coach, I can say, because he triggered something in me. And the vibration of the voice is so healing. So I would sing with him at the house, but I was such a shy child that I use art actually to express myself, because art, you don't have to be in front of it. You make it and then you could put it on the wall and people see it. Yeah, I got really into art like this. And then watching, if I went to work and see my mom drawing new designs, dresses, and she would do research. So she would go to the museum at the library and research books and old designs and get ideas, or go to the museum and see some paintings with other design. Like she would get her inspiration that way. My parents were also dressing a lot of musicians, pop artists from France. And so I was really exposed to a lot of music. There was a lot of musicians coming to our home. My parents played music all the time. They loved music. When they had runaway shows, actually, my parents had good customers in LA. So they would go to LA. And I just remember going to with my dad to Tower Records and getting the new releases. So he would get stuff, because that was before the internet and that was before streaming. So songs that would be out in the US would not be out in Europe yet. So he would grab stuff that people for the runway show would have not heard those songs, And
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then release them. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's this whole side of Paris that's like, full of culture, full of art, full of music. But when it comes to education, they put the art and the music aside, and they encourage you to do your math and your French and your literature and your philosophy, geography, history, all that. And it created this confusion in me, because I was really a great mathematician when math became really abstract. And so my dad, even though he was an artist, he encouraged me to follow for my career. And I understand now as an adult, he was trying to do what's best for me, because he didn't want me to be a struggling artist. He encouraged me to pursue math. And so I graduated high school in math and physics. And then I went to a scientific university until I got all the diplomas. And then I told him, I said, now I really need to do art.
Oh, wow.
Now I have the security of these diplomas. Like if things don't work out, I can always find a job as an engineer or something. But like I knew deep inside I was an artist, So then I got his blessings. I was like 20 or 19, but I still wanted his blessings, because, he's my dad, and he's like, of course, he let me do it. And from then on, my life completely shifted to fully artistic expression.
Oh my goodness. That's really remarkable. I think the fact that you have an expertise with, so much from right brain to left brain is just phenomenal, because so many of us are hardwired into one path, and it's something that you've mastered across the board. I wanted to touch on a piece that you did called Aztec de la Chloe, which is a guitar, and you etched your designs onto it. And it's now showcasing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and also at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And what I think is so beautiful about this piece is it's so many different facets to who you are. It brings in the art, the music, the creativity, all in one project. So tell us about that, how you even thought to do it.
It's a funny story, actually. It's I created this guitar when we were in Paris, and I think we just celebrated my daughter's first birthday in Paris.
Oh.
My son was 3, and my husband was on tour in Europe. So we rented this apartment in center Paris for 3 months, I think, because I think he was touring for a while. So it was my first time, like really back in Paris, like almost living there again. And then my husband got this guitar that was completely blank, like raw wood, no electronics, nothing. And he brought it to me and said, I want you to do something with this guitar. I was like, okay, I never worked on the guitar before, but yes, I'd love to do something. I had left some of my art supplies at my dad's. So I went there in a cellar. I was digging through, before I moved to the US, and I hadn't looked through my art supplies, and most of them were kind of dry, like the paints were dry. But I found this pyrography tool, the wood burning tool that I had forgotten about. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, I'm going to try. It's wood. It's raw wood. There's no varnish, nothing on it. Let me try to see what I can do with this tool. And so I brought it to the apartment. And like everything else I do for painting or creating anything is like, okay, I sit in front of whatever surface I'm going to work with. And I close my eyes. And I thought, because it's a guitar for my husband to play, I was thinking of him. And then that's when, the Aztec theme started coming through, and I started wood burning. It took me a few days to finish it because I was not prepared for the wood to be that hard, so it's like, and I hadn't done any wood burning in years. I think as a kid, I would do like the wooden spoons in the kitchen. I decorate
so cool.
everything. Yeah, as a kid, I would decorate everything, which, my parents had to hold me back a bit because I started painting on my walls. I did this amazing dragon on my bedroom wall.
Yeah.
But I would decorate wooden spoons like in the kitchen, and I would burn and do the designs. I even did it on chairs, the back of chairs when they were wood. Like I would do this, but I hadn't touched that tool in years. So I had to varnish it. So the varnishing came after when we went back to the US, because I didn't have that, and I didn't want to. It's a whole process. You cannot have any piece of dust in a room and with kids running around. But that's how it started. It started with just him presenting me a blank wood, raw wood instrument. And I did it in Paris. So it has a little bit of a Parisian infusion. I used my old tools that I didn't even know would work. And it's great because it's bringing, like you said, the music, the creativity, the art, all in one piece.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love that you did this to pay like an homage to your husband, which brings me to how you and Robert met. I'm sure there's just a beautiful story behind it.
Well, we met very early on. We met in the 90s. I was still in high school, and one of my good friends, so I was hanging out with the punk rock kids,
mm-hmm.
the heavy metal kids. I was in that scene, and I actually started going to all the shows, so much so that I made friends with everybody that were working at shows. So I was often invited to see all these shows. And one of my good friends that is considered as a big brother, he was older than me, but he was always kind of watching over me, making sure I didn't get into trouble or anything. He was good friends with the members of a band called Suicidal Tendencies. And Robert was playing in that band. And so we started hanging out like this. That's how I met him. But the first time I met him was at a show in 1990, actually, that was called Clash of the Titans. Yeah, it was. They were playing at the Zenith in Paris, the Zenith.
Mm-hmm.
And I was backstage, and one of the guitar players saw my I always had super long hair. It's like, oh, can I take a picture with your long hair? I said, sure. So he put my long hair on his face. And then my friend who I was talking about came by, and he was there, and he introduced me to all the band members. And then they played often in Paris. So every time they came, we would meet for dinner, meet at the shows, do things in Paris. And Robert was always he's part of the band. But funny enough is we were almost just acquaintances. I was getting along more with the two other guitar players. Like we were really friends, and they were the ones that would call me when they came into Paris. So yeah, let's have dinner and let's do this or that. But not so much Robert. Robert was part of the group, but he was always in the corner. I don't know if he was he says he was shy, and he says I
Oh,
looked like I was, just I don't know, he was mean or something.
yeah. The nerves.
But anyway, and then Robert got, like, many years later, Robert started playing with Ozzy Osbourne, and Ozzy hardly played Paris. So I didn't see Robert for, I think, 7 years, except one time this friend of mine that knew Robert too, we went together to London and we went to see Robert play with Ozzy, actually. So I saw him there. We talked a bit, but it was not, we were friends. We were acquaintances, and it was just so different. It's so strange to think about it. But when I moved to New York in the year 2000, I was actually here for 9/11 and all that stuff. My friend called Robert and said, "Hey, Chloe moved to New York. If you're ever there." Why did he call Robert to tell him that? I don't know, but
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah, I know. And then I moved to LA 2 years later, and my friend calls me and said, "Robert, I told him that you're in LA. He wants you to call him." So I called him, left a message, never heard from him. A week later, my friend calls me back. "Robert was in Tahiti. He was surfing. He mistakenly erased your voicemail because it was calling his home number, from a payphone." So
Right. Yeah, when we had landlines.
yes, he wants you to call him back. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll call him back." And then I call him back, and then he called me, and we met at this bar in LA shortly after. And funny enough, it was at a time where I just moved to LA and I was restarting anew again. And I was really focused on career stuff. I absolutely was not looking for a relationship at all. I was not focused on that. I didn't want any relationships.
Yes, that's when it happens.
Yeah, I know.
It just catches you off guard.
Exactly. Because I'm like, I want to know where I'm going because I just moved to LA. What do I do? Do I need to audition? I need to paint. I need this and that. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just had to kind of center myself and start a new life in Los Angeles. So yeah, when he called me and we met, I thought we would just meet as friends. "Oh, it's so great to see you." And then he walked me to the car and asked me on a date. And I was shocked, to tell you the truth. I was shocked because I was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to hurt his feelings. He's a good friend." But I was like, "I want to focus on my career. I'm not ready for a relationship," but I didn't want to hurt his feelings. So I said, okay. I didn't say, "Yes, sure." I said, okay. And then I'm driving away and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't want this, not right now. And then I remember because he called me the next day, and I didn't even answer the phone because I thought, I saw him yesterday. What is he calling me already the next day? And then I let it on voicemail, and then I listened to the voicemail. It was actually really nice. He was going to the movies with some friends. He wanted to see if I would come along. So I called him back and I met him again. And then things happened naturally, but so naturally that I can't even tell you which day, like when it shifted. It was just almost like meant to be.
Yes.
And it's so funny, like a few months after we shifted our relationship to like being like in a serious relationship, we went to Paris and we went to see Carlos Santana play. Like I mentioned earlier, I was friends with all the the French promoters and the French crew that worked at shows. So they knew somehow I was coming to the show. And one of my friends came to find me, and he's hiding something behind his back. And he said, "I knew you were coming here. I have a surprise for you." And he's giving me this picture. So this is before digital, it's like an old school picture that he took with a proper camera. From 1995, May 1995, and it's me and Robert dancing together in Paris.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, this is so precious. In those days, who would have thought that this man would be my husband and the father of my kids? It's like the best ever,
Oh, that's
like,
beautiful.
And he took that picture in 1995. And what are the chances you still have, it's 2002 and you still have that picture? I mean,
And I feel like you're so attuned to this. You're a Reiki healer as well. And so I'm sure you have just this inner knowing when it comes to energy and our place in this universe. So tell us about that too, because it's going to inform so much in your life. And then it explains why things happen in life too.
Absolutely. I mean, I think from a very young age, and then my mother had a little bit of that in her, even though my dad was kind of pushing it away because he was afraid of it, I think. But my mom was always in tune with some energy work, more spiritual, And I was, like I said, I was a curious child. So, and I knew there was something else than what we can see. We're only using a small percentage of our brain. Like, if we could only develop more of our brain like what we can do.
The capacity. Yeah.
Yeah. The capacity. It was always fascinating to me. So I know I from like a child, I read a lot of books on all kinds of different practices and including energy work. Reiki yet, but energy work. One year I was on vacation in Brittany. So that's like a northwest part of France.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a Celtic area where back in the day they had druids and all this. And I was there on vacation and I had shoulder problems for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen 3 doctors and none of them really fixed I couldn't do this movement basically. And I was dancing, and as a dancer, it was really impairing. And I was at a lunch table and there was this old man that was talking about this guy that fixed his knee. And so I thought, I want to see this guy. So I got the guy's information and I went to see him. And it was my first experience with energy work. He kept me an hour and a half and I was lying on the table. He never touched me.
Right.
He lay on the table and he was just moving his hands above my body. And I really felt the energy circulating. It was really intense. And then when he was above my shoulder that was creating problems, he started blurping out like things that came to him that were such truth for me at the time, that he said things that made my shoulder be blocked like this. And it made so much sense. And it's almost, that was part of the healing too, is making myself aware of what I was carrying on my shoulder.
Oh, wow. Figuratively too.
And that was like my first real experience with energy work. After an hour and a half, after everything he said, and after all this energy flowing through my body, I was completely healed. I was like, I can't believe it had been months since I couldn't do this gesture. And I came out and I was like, is this true? And that made me realize how powerful this work is.
Yes.
I got even more curious about it. So I really started digging through. And then shortly after, my mom gifted me a book that I still have to this day. It's a French book. It's from Michel Odoul, and it's Dis-moi où tu as mal, je te dirai pourquoi. Tell me where you have pain, and I will tell you why.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I love to still today refer to this book, because anything, whether it's an accident, an injury, a pain, you can look through it and look what part of the body is affected, and it will tell you why it might be. It's something that can be unconscious, subconscious, like it's something going on in your life that you're dealing with, but the body holds it. It will create something there to make yourself aware of it. So I just was fascinated with this work.
Yes.
And I know I talk a lot about this experience that I had of this attack by a serial rapist and killer in Paris. That happened later on, because the police offers you psychiatric help and meds. And somehow I didn't want that. I wanted to be connected to my pain to be able to heal it. And I went to one guy that was referred to me. I don't even remember who it was. I know where he was. I know he was in the 6th arrondissement, but he did some magic on me. and with a pendulum and burning things in my belly button and boiling some liquid above my head. All I know is I had to gather a lot of courage to go to him, to take the subway, because every little sound would freeze me back then because of the trauma.
The trauma
And
response, yeah.
I went to him, and after his treatment, I could breathe again. And my breathing was blocked here, when you're in shock. And part of my healing was also arts and music and singing and tone and the resonance. So I really got into all these modalities of healing. And I thought to myself, what if I learn more about those and can maybe help others heal too? Like through my artwork, I know colors heal, like symbol heals, so I started being really in tune with my artwork as part of my healing journey, but a healing for others too. So I started meditating. I started having visions of what I should paint. And this is when I started really getting into the artwork that I'm doing still today. It's that style of really trying not to censor myself, because everything that's coming through is meant to be. And the singing too, like toning is so healing. I studied a lot of the toning and the chanting and how, can attune all of your chakras, whether you believe in chakras. I mean, it's energy centers, basically, all your energy centers and the vibration. It helps you, but as a singer, but it helps others. It affects everybody. Like it ripples through the air. When I was pregnant with my daughter, that's when I did my Reiki training. But I also did study with a shaman. Like I was so curious.
Wow.
I studied with a big kahuna, like different cultures. And it all brings you to the same principles, basically. We're all made of energy. And we all have the power to heal ourselves and others.
Yes.
And I actually did Reiki on my kids all the time as babies, if they were colicky or how it is. Like,
yes. Oh
like,
my gosh, that's
bump
wonderful.
their heads or this, I'll be like, oh, let me help you. And also I did a lot of distance Reiki healing. I know like at one point, I was in LA, my dad was in Paris. There was some like news about my dad's health. So I tuned into him and I couldn't ask him permission vocally, like up front. You can ask his spirit soul permission. So I asked permission and I went and I did some healing work on him distance-wise. I mean, I felt like it was just me trying to connect with what we can't see. So I really got into this because it's so powerful, I mean, if you sing at a frequency that's like I have this glass, like I could show like the same of the glass, you can shatter the glass. So imagine what that does to your cells in your body. We're all
that's a beautiful analogy.
I know it's just like if you're vibrating at a higher rate, like you're just creating radiant health and joy and love. And so I wanted to study this so I can apply it into my work. I'm just as passionate as this part as I am passionate about arts and music, because I feel that this is all connected. We're all connected anyways. We're just one, and it's having this awareness just brings everything together.
Yes, it really does. I believe in it myself. I mean, my mom developed dementia 2 years ago, and because I can't physically be with her all the time, I have 3 young kids, twins, and a younger one under 6. And she's, outside DC and I'm in Jersey near New York. Yeah. And so I had a Reiki healer help and would kind of report back to me about how she's going to be feeling now and what her energy level is. And there definitely was improvement because I'd speak to my dad about it. And he would say, yeah, she's, very energized today. She is happier and went for a walk. And so I believe it. It definitely works. I wanted to switch gears and talk about your motherhood experience. And I love how you wove it into our conversation because so much of who you are now as a mother has informed your craft and how you live your life. And I think that's so important that it should be very seamless.
Yeah.
And you embody that. How has motherhood changed you?
I think it's changed me in so many different ways. First of all, it's not just, it gave me the awareness that it's not just about me. It's about them. It's about my children, but it's about the future generation too. It's just about, and then I changed to being really conscious of what I was doing every day. I was already very conscious and pretty healthy person, disciplined and all this, but I always knew that the kids would be watching. I wanted to be like the right role model for them. So it's kind of like it shifted me into probably being more loving. Like all of a sudden there's people that are more important than myself. And then I shifted that into like, no, I have to take care of myself too, to show them, especially when I had a daughter, because my first was a boy. I wanted to show my daughter that it is possible to take care of yourself and take care of your children and be who you want to be and have children. It's all possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was always in front of them. I mean, as a singer, I was doing my vocal exercises. I was singing. I was always painting. It just gave me that extra, awareness of they are here and they're watching and they're listening. And I wanted to be the best example for them and not be someone that's given up on herself to just be completely like I was fully with them.
Right.
But I was always, I was just, I have to stay myself. And
yes, you didn't lose yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's so easy. I'm telling you, there's moments, my husband was on tour a lot when Ty was born. And I remember, like, I can give you one example of when my husband came back home for like a week and Ty was, he was barely a month old. And I remember we lived in Venice. And I remember we were walking towards the boardwalk and I had Ty in a stroller and he's a baby and my husband by my side. And people would either recognize Robert and stop to talk to him or would look at the baby. Oh,
the baby.
Cute.
Yeah.
And then I felt inexistent, like nobody would acknowledge me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of moms go through that moment where you just give birth to a new life and you almost, you
are like invisible
machine. You become like, okay, I'm feeding. Okay, I'm changing a diaper. Okay, I'm trying to sleep, but I can't sleep. But, and I felt like a machine and I felt like I lost being like my soul almost. Like I was like, and that's when I became aware that moment with the stroller, because it happened a few times. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I got to remember who I was, but be my new self, but be me. And also the kids teach you to not, you're not lying to your kids. They see everything. They see through everything. You cannot pretend anything, they see. So I got this double take on life, like just that this is me. And really it helped me define truly who I was, being a new mother, taking care of my children, but also being a woman that has goals and ambition and passion and never give up on that either. So it taught me a lot about letting like the flow of life. Because like I said earlier, there can never be a balance because it's too hard to try to find balance because you'll never find it. It's
never 50-50.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's going to keep changing. It ebbs and flows.
Exactly. And so exactly like if you go with the flow, that's what it taught me the most. I think it's just go with the flow and not try to be rigid about a schedule, because and things shift, when the kids start going to school, then all of a sudden you have more time.
Yeah.
And it goes by fast, even though, when they're babies, it seems endless. Like I remember I was ready to throw myself out the window sometimes and be like, 2 babies, nobody wants to sleep. But the mom wants to sleep. I can't sleep.
Oh my goodness.
It's
the most consuming.
Yeah. And a friend of mine that's not a mom, she was like, oh, but you have to keep being creative. I'm like, I want to be creative. I just don't have the time right now.
Yeah.
Even if you're on the beach, draw in the sand or whatever. But part of what she was saying helped too, because then I started, like when they were taking naps, instead of trying to clean the house, I started to draw again and start to write.
Oh.
And like I said, I was always singing to them, but I was being me. And I really wanted to show them that being them, staying true to their own authentic self was really important. Because that's what I learned with being a mother is I lost myself for a second, and then I just had to recenter myself and really stay authentic and not trying to have, because nowadays there's more and more mothers that work, that do many things at once. When I grew up and my parents, there were still mothers that work, but my mom was a working mom. And yes, she was not always there for me. But she always told me that whenever she had the time to pick me up from school and saw the other moms that were not working moms, she saw the difference. Even though she missed me and she wanted to be with me, but had to work, she felt like she enjoyed being with me more because the other moms that were stay-at-home moms didn't care as much being with it because they were with their children all day long.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that to my children. I was with my children all day long, but I still gave myself the time to paint and to be like, okay, I'm going to put you right here. You can play with that toy. Look, I'm going to paint, or I'm going to sing. Oh, let's sing together. Let's sing together. You know, like really enjoy this part of your life, because it goes by so fast, but it taught me a lot. It taught me to be really like mindful of the time we have on this planet and being the best supportive mom I can be to them, but also being supportive to myself as well, to show them that it's important, because the mom mental health is as important as the kids. Like it
is. No, I think when you have a mom who is of sound mental health and takes care of herself, she can give more to her family and every extension.
Exactly.
I wanted to find out how Robert is as a dad, because both of you are so creative in your own right. I'd love to hear how, I'm sure he infuses his love and passion for music, for the guitar to your kids.
Yeah. We never force our kids to anything. And it's funny because how they picked up instruments on their own, and they picked up paintbrushes and all this on their own, but it was always available in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I think they saw, because Robert was touring a lot. And like I said, I would take the kids along on tour. And so they would see everything that goes on with putting a show together. And then on days off, I would take them out to see all kinds of different museums or artifacts or monuments, depending on where we were. If we were, whether we were in China or Brazil or wherever in the world we were, like I would try to expose them to as much culture as I can, so they can be really open-minded and know a lot. That's, for me, that's better than school. I mean, they were going to school too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, knowing and being open-minded, not judgmental about other people, when they grow up, and be like, oh, these people were like this and these people are like, no, just accept everybody as they are. But then they saw when Robert was home, we both very disciplined. Even though we're artists, it's like Robert is always playing his instrument. And if he was like rocking the cradle with one hand, playing bass with the other, like, that's how I have actually this amazing picture of Ty as a newborn, and he's lying on Robert like this. And then Robert's on the bed, and Ty is across his chest, and then he has the bass underneath, and he's playing bass.
Incredible.
There. So I think they seeing us like this. And of course, Robert exposed also the children to his culture, like the Venice both skateboarders, the surfing culture, that California So that was his fun part, when they got a little bit older, let's go to the skate park, let's go skate. Or now it's like, let's go surf. That's where things got fun. And then of course, when they start picking up instruments, then it's all about playing music as well.
Yeah.
It's great. I always smile when I drive to the house, and if everybody's home, it sounds like you're entering a studio, a rehearsal studio, because my daughter will be playing her drums in her bedroom. My son will be writing some music in his bedroom, and then my husband might be practicing. And if I'm there, I'm doing vocals and I'm singing. So it really, it's like it's this full of music, energy, and then the way they inspire me too is hearing them play all the time.
Yes.
I mean, my son's been like a professional musician since he was 9, and he toured with this band Korn as their bass player in South America when he was 12 years old. Wow. And really, he learned, talking about discipline and hard work, he learned their songs from their CD, believe it or not, even though he was born. Their CD, he had a CD player in his bedroom, Ty. And from listening by ear, he learned the bass parts on, because my husband was not even, he was on tour. He could not even help him.
Amazing. Oh my goodness.
And so he auditioned and he got the gig, and then he did his first, like, he's this tiny little 12-year-old. and he would just learn the songs after school. He'd come back from school, pick them up from school, and at 3:30 he'd be running to his room, playing the CD and learning the songs till like it was dinner time.
Yeah.
Such a young age. I feel like I don't know if me at that age I would have been
have that work ethic.
Like that work ethic.
Yeah.
I would have today, but back then as a kid, I don't know,
I want to get into your most recent venture, which is your design of sustainable fashion for the U.S. synchronized swim team at the Olympics, which is just amazing. And, the opportunity came about where it was, through someone who was connected to Robert, and it came back again, right?
Robert and Kirk, when they were in Barcelona, they took a flamenco guitar class with this flamenco player at a flamenco school. And the player's wife was a flamenco dancer. Mm-hmm. And so she started following me on social media. I didn't know about her yet. I mean, Robert just told me, oh yeah, we took this really cool flamenco guitar class and this was really great. And I told his wife is a dancer. I told her, you were a dancer too. And then I just said, oh yeah, when I'm back in Barcelona, I'd love to like do some flamenco dancing, learn, I hadn't taken 2 classes in the past in Paris long time ago, but I was more like a jazz dancer than flamenco, but I love every kind of dance. And so anyway, she started following me on social media, and maybe a year later, she messaged me and she said she loved my dresses and she was wondering if I could design a dress for flamenco. They're very superstitious and it has to have polka dots.
Okay.
So I said, yes, well, next round I'm designing dresses, I'll try to see about the polka dots and I'll be so happy to do, like, especially it's bringing the dance world and my design world.
Right.
I love it. And then after that, of course, there was like COVID hit, everything shut down. Anyway, it was a whole ordeal. And then during, like, when things started reopening, the flamenco dancers, I think, is the aunt of the coach of the swim team USA.
Oh my goodness.
So
look at that coincidence.
I know, it's so crazy. It's because I'm receiving this weird text. It's like, hi, this is Andrea. I'm the niece of so-and-so flamenco in Barcelona. I don't know if you remember. I don't even know if you will answer my text, but I'm the coach for the artistic swimming team USA. We would love to have you design a suit. And it was a text. And I'm like, I'm scratching my head.
Yeah.
Like, is this a joke or what is this? It was like so cryptic, with like, I'm the niece of this flamenco in Barcelona and all this. And I'm like, Barcelona, but it's the Olympic team USA. What's And so I answered the text, and she's like, oh, I'm so excited you responded. I'd never thought you would respond. And then we talked on the phone, and we actually met in Santa Monica at a cafe. And I met the two coaches there, and they told me about their idea. And I loved the fact that the message about the environment and the water and all that. So they had me listen to their music, and that inspired me. And I was so nervous at first. I was like, wait, what? Are there rules for swimsuit? Like, I'm sure there's some. And so they gave me all that information, and I got so excited. So I started designing. Like, I think I gave them 20 drawings of different swimsuit that I thought about. And
my goodness.
So they came to my studio, and they're like, oh, wow, you're a real artist. You're like doing all this. I'm like, yes, but I'm, and then they picked one design, and then I had to make the adjustment with the sizing and then the rules and regulations that they have and then that's how it came about. But I don't think I'm allowed to say much more because I don't want to talk about the design and
we'll be surprised.
That. Yeah, and then of course we're using like eco-friendly, eco-conscious material for the swimsuit and all that stuff. So yeah,
that's brilliant. Oh my goodness, I love that. It's the universe conspires.
Absolutely,
to help you on your journey.
It's the same thing. We're talking about energy. Everything is soon, and it's hard because we're human. Sometimes we get caught up in our own head, and I do too. Sometimes I'm like, I'm either upset or frustrated at something, and then I'm blocking. I don't realize it, but I'm just blocking opportunity by being that way. And anyway,
we have to trust. We really do.
Exactly.
And my last two questions. One is your mom sense moment, a time you trusted your intuition.
I read this book. I forgot the title of its book. It was years ago in Paris. And I think I was probably 17 or 18 years old. And I remember this book said actually to follow your intuition. And it was talking about that a lot and welcome the adventure in your life, like something that it will see what your universe has for you today. And after reading this book, I'm like, okay, I put the book down. I left my apartment and I was like, I'm just going to follow my intuition, see where it guides me. And I'm just like walking in the street. And then I feel like, oh, I should take the metro and go towards this station. And I'm just going. And then I go in the metro. And then this guy starts talking to me. And he's an African guy with a shell, like the shells. And he's reading the shells. It's like, oh, he's like telling me, you have 5 stars on your forehead. That's really rare. Can I read the shells for you? And in that station, he started reading the shells and started giving me my fortune. But
oh my goodness,
he was not some random. He was a random guy that I'd never met before. But he was actually talking to me about my dad, my mom, he gave me super accurate information. And I never met this guy. He doesn't know it. And I'm in this subway station where I've probably been at before, but it's not like the station where I hang out,
Yeah. It was just right place at right time.
And he gave me a message and I'm like, oh, I guess I needed to hear that today. And I'm like, oh, I'm liking this game. Let's, that's maybe the specific example that I can give you right now as the mom sense, but I was not a mom yet, but it just brought me to places unexpected. And I just played that game for the whole afternoon. And it's amazing. The amount of messages you receive from people when you're just open and listening to your heart and where it guides you. And I love doing that. I love playing that game still today.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do that. Yeah. Sometimes you overthink. And then lastly, do you have a daily mantra that you can share with our audience?
The mantra that I would tell myself is more that I live life to the fullest. That's what I try to do.
You definitely do.
My mantra. And now if for chanting, I do other mantras too. But yeah, that's live life to the fullest and then enjoy it. Try to enjoy it as much as you can. But I'm trying to have as many experiences as I can and try to really enjoy the moment.
Oh, I love it. Well, this was such a joy having you on, Chloe. I love that you are so authentic in the gifts that have been bestowed upon you. And that's how you live your life. And that's what you're passing down as your legacy. And it's beautiful to see.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great meeting you.
What an inspiring conversation. Chloe Trujillo, thank you so much for your time and your positive vibes and your wisdom. I want to give a special thank you to Anita Chatterjee of A Game PR and her team, Carmina Diaz and Alpana Patel, for always being in my corner. I am sure you gleaned some invaluable insights from my interview with Chloe. Do follow her and take a look at her breathtaking works. Her website is Chloe Trujillo, TRUJILLO.com. You can follow her on Instagram at the same handle and on YouTube. You can listen to her music and see her paintings. I love that on this show, she shed more light on her motherhood experience and how her two children inspire her every day. Chloe, you have inspired me to continue to learn and grow and have art be part of my day-to-day. You can follow me at Kanika Chadda Gupta on Instagram and visit my website, that's totalmomsense.com, where there is a running archive of all the episodes that I've released over the years. And you can also watch videos on YouTube. Just type in That's Total Mom Sense and you'll get to see podcast videos. Subscribe, rate, and review That's Total Mom Sense wherever you listen to podcasts. And I want to thank you for being a part of my tribe. Always trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super parents. I'll see you soon.
That's Total Mom Sense.